You can close your siddur, your machzor, for just a couple minutes. It's nice to see everyone again. It's nice to see you here tonight on this wonderful evening. It's weird because it's a little foggy and a little rainy outside. I thought for a moment that I wasn't in Southern California anymore, because I thought only on the East Coast is it like rainy and foggy and the seasons really change around Rosh Hashanah. Usually it's 110 degrees outside until the second night of Sukkot, and then we get to be outside. But so I got a little thrown. I hope everyone got into the parking lot all right. I have no idea because I walk here on Rosh Hashanah. It's one of my few perks in life is that I get to walk to shul when everyone else has to manage the parking lot. But I hope you got in okay. And I hope that those of you who took the ride-sharing option tonight will use it again tomorrow, because it will be crazy. So I hope they have an opportunity to do that. So I'm going to give all of you a hall pass. So a hall pass means you can go out in the hall. And I'm going to tell you why. It's because this is the first time I've actually done this service with this community, and where I'm doing back-to-back early services. So tomorrow morning, I'll be giving the same sermon that I'm giving right now. Now, I'll be in Malkin-Burdorf tomorrow morning. So if you're in Malkin-Burdorf service, you're welcome to listen to a slightly more energized version of this sermon, because I'll be on a full night's of sleep. But you're welcome to do that. And I'll give you the same hall pass tomorrow if you want to hear my sermon tonight and then wander across the hall to maybe hear another rabbi's sermon. Don't worry, I won't get offended. You could do that tomorrow morning. I tried to figure out what I was going to speak to this community about, because it's been a very, very eventful year. You could speak about the election, you could speak about politics, you could speak about all of these natural disasters that have just besought the Western Hemisphere in the last 3 months alone. We talk about LA. I'm going to talk about something different. I'm going to talk about a very Jewish issue. And it has to do with politics, and it has to do with the world we live in, but really it has to do with our kids. And so for this year, I wrote a letter to my children. And you guys get to come along for the ride. To my dearest children, there comes a time in every family's life where the playthings and the good times must be put on hold for a short time, so some serious words must be said. There comes a time in every Jewish family where parents have to sit down with their children and speak about what it means to be a Jew in a Gentile world. My parents sat me down to have this talk, as did their parents before them and theirs before them. I wish I would never have to, but now is the time to speak of what has unfortunately become, in the case of the Jewish people, an eternal truth. We are a small people in this vast world. While you have Jewish friends in every corner of your lives, and it might seem that everywhere you go there are always Jews around, the truth is that we only make up a small fraction of the world's population. Only about 0.2% when it's all said and done. That means that there are billions upon billions of people who have never met a Jew. They don't really know us. And because of that and other reasons, I'd like to share with you why some of them hate us, and as a whole, and why some of those that hate us want to do violence to us. Part of me wants to tell you everything, all the details about what has happened to us in history, the expulsions and the libels, the gas chambers and the ovens. There was a time not long ago when anti-Semitism's greatest expression came roaring like a demon out of the earth. The Shoah, the Holocaust, a moral failing so large that 2 out of every 5 Jews in the world were murdered, including 1.5 million children. For my parents and my grandparents, even for myself, and maybe even now, our community has not fully worked out its grief. But I don't want to put a stone in your precious heart either. I see in your Jewish eyes a spirituality that is overflowing with love and joy, a Judaism so full of color, so full of dancing, a people so vibrant and so thriving. I watch you sometimes from the windows upstairs playing basketball, or just running around or dancing our people's folk dances. And it brings me so much joy to see how much Judaism brings joy to you. So I don't wish for your first question about spirituality to be, where was God in Auschwitz? As it was for my parents and my grandparents. Because I believe that only now are we able to see in this generation to see that Judaism's internal pulsations of truth and of meaning glow so brightly that no smokestack could dare to overshadow it. God is so much bigger than war, and so much bigger than one global catastrophe. So powerful of force is the divine in the universe, but I want you to feel as I do that the fires of hate cannot destroy the creator of love and justice. So I will not mention everything, but there are a few things you need to know about me and my family and our family. I was a little older than you when I was first targeted for bullying because I'm a Jew. I was a little older than you when I was first called a kike and a Jew boy, both evil names. I was a little older than you when I felt anti-Semitism for the first time on my body in the form of punches and kicks from other boys at school. I was a little older than you when some of those same boys would tell me this joke. They would say, "Why do Jews have crooked backs?" Because they spend so much time picking up pennies. I didn't really understand that in their laughter, they didn't mean for me to laugh with them along with the joke. To them, all Jews are greedy and money obsessed, and we spend all of our time bending over to try to pick up a few pennies. Don't let anyone, my children, tell you that sticks and stones can break your bones, but words can never hurt you. It's simply not true. Sticks and stones can leave their marks on your body, but there's a reason why the most important part of a joke is called a punchline. Words hurt in places that others cannot see. They punch on your soul, they punch on your heart, and they leave bruises that last much longer than sticks and stones. Perhaps the worst anti-Semitism our family ever faced was when I was a sophomore in public school. I have clear memories of my father standing to make kiddush on Friday night to the sound of eggs splattering against the windows. One night, I was awoken at 3 a.m. by the sound of loud pops and bangs in our front yard. When my father walked outside, he found several pipe bombs had been exploded in the front of the house. And our brick mailbox was sitting in the middle of the street, broken into pieces. Part of the lawn was on fire. The street was filled with flashing lights and hazmat suits because the authorities wanted to make sure the substance burned into our grass wasn't a chemical agent. On my sister's car hung a t-shirt with swastikas painted onto it with phrases like, "Get out, Jew," and "We know who you are." But more than the violence, the bombs, and the fire, it was the words that scared me and scarred me the most. "We know who you are" felt worse than getting a new mailbox, especially because at 15, I barely knew who I was myself. And I didn't really know what it meant to be a Jew. Sure, we kept Shabbat occasionally, and we went to services occasionally, and we ate matzah and had a seder, but these people, these other people, were trying to tell us who we were. I didn't know who I was. Which is why I write this letter to you, to help you think through who you are as a member of our family, as an American and a part of an ancient people. Now, I don't mean to scare you, my children. The first thing you should know is that you are safe. I want you to know that we are safer now than we have been in 2,000 years of Jewish history. Our home is safe, and our community is safe. You live in one of the largest Jewish communities in the world. You go to school behind walls with armed guards who are here to protect you. I have the chief of police of Los Angeles on my cell phone's speed dial. Not everyone in the world is an anti-Semite either, nor should you go walking down the street assuming that anyone who looks at you funny is an anti-Semite. Diversity is one of God's greatest blessings. The rabbis teach that there are an infinite number of God's images stamped precisely onto the soul of every unique human being. Jews are loved in this country, and according to recent sociological studies, in fact, we are the most loved in this country. But more than any particular study or strength of our numbers or the heights of our walls, there are two foundational reasons why you should feel safe right here and right now. First is that we live in the United States of America, the greatest democratic experiment the world has ever known. It has its problems with hatred and anti-Semitism, racism, and xenophobia. Americans, including Jews, have enslaved other people and have committed unspeakable acts of violence upon the property and bodies of others. But know this, there has never been a place in the history of the world that has the promise for all the people as America does. Those promises have been secured through democracy, through power struggles, and even through protest. But the short history of this country has shown that it has always progressed towards a more perfect union. And there has never, ever been, in the long history of our people, a better diaspora home than in the United States. In fact, it was a Jew at the beginning of this country's history in 1787, named Jonas Phillips, who was the only person in the newly freed colonies to dare to petition the Constitutional Convention. What he asked of these illustrious scholars and statesmen who were drafting our country's foundational document was that there be no religious test for citizenship, nor for federal office in these burgeoning United States. Phillips is little known to us, but because he was a Jew who wrote in Yiddish, he wrote codes in Yiddish to protect the Revolutionary Army. He put his Judaism on the line in public. His influence has helped to secure one of the cornerstones of our success and the success of all faiths in America. For he was willing to speak truth to power and challenge the fledgling government to protect all religions and all peoples. And he did so as a Jew. The imperfect country that is America has its problems, but while we live here, and as long as we continue to speak up as Jews, we can help secure our safety and yours. You are also safer today than any time in history because we have a true homeland in the state of Israel. Like America, Israel has its share of political injustices. It is not even close to perfect, with poverty, social inequality, and an occupation of another people. Israel, like America, is an experiment in self-determination. Israel is the collective attempt of Jews globally to make Zionism, the yearning to live free as other people do, manifest in the world. It is a refuge to millions of Jews. It is a cultural heart that throbs at the center of who we are. It is strong and thriving with an army, a social safety net, universities and hospitals, and a diverse culture within a Jewish democracy. Israel has given every Jew in the world the confidence like never before to stand up for our Jewish beliefs. Because of America, because of Israel, you belong to the safest generation of Jews in history. There is, however, a gathering storms on many sides that threaten these two foundations that safeguard our well-being. And while they are small, they are loud and are growing. It is our generation's turn to make sure that in our own way that these forces are defeated. According to the Anti-Defamation League, anti-Semitic occurrences have risen dramatically, up 86% in the last year alone. On Friday night last month, a group of white supremacists, as you know, gathered in Charlottesville, Virginia. And as they carried torches on Friday night, they chanted over and over again, "Jews will not replace us." Just a few days ago in St. Louis, Missouri, a synagogue came under threat during a protest against police violence. On Twitter, anti-Semites tried to rally their friends to surround the shul. The hashtag #GasTheSynagogue was trending all night as one of the top hashtags on Twitter globally. Tonight, there's a synagogue in Texas that is meeting in secret. They do not give out the location of where they are meeting for services for fear that they will be confronted by anti-Semites. And unfortunately, without the unequivocal condemnations of hate for the most powerful office in our country, these gathering winds of hate will grow into a full-blown gale. Do not think, however, that anti-Semitism is only held by white men. Amongst progressives, many of whom are differing ethnic descent, there's a rising trend of anti-Semitism in a new form, anti-Zionism. As I said before, criticizing Israeli policy is fine. It's a right of anyone who wants to fight for justice. But anti-Semitism is more than criticism. It is the denial of the right of collective living for Jews to live as everyone else can. This past summer, women were at a march to support the rights for gays and lesbians, and they were told they couldn't march with the Jewish symbols on their flag because they saw the Star of David itself as a symbol of aggression and oppression. They might claim that they don't hate Jews, but according to the organizers of the march, when they were called out for their distasteful shooing away of Jewish marchers at this beautiful protest, they said, Zionism is an inherently white supremacist ideology. It is based on the premise that Jewish people have a God-given entitlement to the lands of the historic Palestine and surrounding areas. They said this in response to being criticized. Their reasoning is that Jews are not indigenous to our own homeland, and that we as Jews are a collective of white colonialists who have come to subjugate and displace those indigenous people that live over there in the land called Palestine. This version of anti-Semitism denies that half the population of the state of Israel is not white, coming as refugees along the Silk Road from Arab countries, from Iran, and from Africa. They think that our history does not matter, that Egypt and Auschwitz are simply myths. These anti-Zionists try to compare oppression as if it was some kind of contest in which the winner takes all. And they align in the most disgusting of ways words like Zionism and white supremacist and Nazi to mean the same thing. You have to ask, what is happening in the mind of a white man who spews hate about such a people so small? Why do liberal activists attack Jews in the guise of attacking Israel's right to existence? Anti-Semitism, you should know, my love, is not about you or me. It is not your fault. It is not your fault that they hate you. You must know that. It's entirely theirs. That's because anti-Semitism at its root is not really about Jews. We might be the object of hatred, but we are not its true cause. It's okay to not like everybody. It's human to disagree with people. It's human not to get along all the time. It's human not even to like Israel all the time. That's our prerogative as a democracy. All the more so in a Jewish democracy. We should call out our own people for their transgressions, as Rav Papa did in the Talmud. If you are able to protest against the transgressions of one household, he writes, and you do not, you become liable for those sins. But anti-Semitism is different than mere protest, mere criticism. It's not simply a criticism of a policy. It is the denial of existence of Jews to live like anyone else. Anti-Semitism is based on a sense of scarcity. There's never enough in the world, this line of thinking goes. And so the world is a struggle between them and us. It is based on a paradigm of either or. Either I am right or you are right. Either I will succeed or you will succeed. If I am good, therefore you must be bad. If I have it all, or you will have it all. Either or says that you are not your brother's keeper, or your neighbor's keeper, or your nation's keeper, or even a global keeper. Either or says that everything in this world is scarce, including grace, including love, including justice. Anti-Semitism is based on this either or paradigm. It says that what is us cannot be them. It says that what is mine cannot be yours. It says that your oppression cannot be included in my oppression. It says that you will not replace us. For those on the right, anti-Semitism is justified in their minds because Jews, they think, control everything. And therefore, we somehow are the gatekeepers to their own prosperity. It's an easy way to distract them from the deeper issues within their own community. It's a way of removing what psychologists call the locus of control, where instead of asking, what did we do wrong, they ask, who did this to us? This is good, old-fashioned American anti-Semitism. On the left, anti-Semitism is justified because we now have political power in the form of Israel that we don't deserve. On the right, Jews are evil because we are not white, even though many of us are. On the left, Jews are evil because we are white, even though many of us are not. On the right, anti-Semitism tries to attack democracy in America. And on the left, anti-Semitism tries to attack Zionism in Israel. On the right, anti-Semitism attacks the Jew in our safest diaspora, and on the left, anti-Semitism attacks the Jew in our homeland. Both of these forms of anti-Semitism come at us by attacking the two foundations of our well-being, and we can't let them. Not on our watch, not in our time, not today, not ever. Rabbi Schulweis was the first to teach me that if anti-Semitism is based on either-or paradigm, then the task of responding to anti-Semitism must first come from a place of overcoming the either-or paradigm. We need both and thinking that comes straight from our tradition. Every Jewish day, every Jewish holiday, as you know, begins at night. Just as there was darkness in the beginning, it was God who felt through that darkness, God who reached into that darkness to find the light. Just as there is evening, so too there is morning. It was at night when they have come for us. It was at night when the Nazis marched against us. It was at night when they broke the glass of our houses of worship, our schools, our businesses, our homes. It was at night when the Tophets glowed the brightest. But there was evening and there was morning. In the morning, we now come out of hiding. In the morning, we now rise. In the morning, we gather, we shout, we sing for our people. In the morning, we fight. In the morning, joy will come. In the morning, for only in the morning, after a long night, in partnership with the people, together, dare we say, we can make it be good. And I'll be damned if we ever go back into the long night. To overcome hatred and bigotry, we must have a fuller heart than those who wish to deny us our place in the world. Do not let anyone, my children, split your Judaism with your Zionism. The Jewish heart has two chambers that beat as one. Justice, the Torah teaches us, is something that must be ever pursued. It is the aspiration of Moses for his people. It is what God wants every human being to know and to love. Jews aspire to justice for all people, and we fight for justice for all people. Zionism is the aspiration to be free, self-determined in our own homeland, drawn together by the hopes and dreams of our ancestors. Jewish justice and Zionism beat together in a single Jewish heart, to live free and to let others live free. Two chambers, one heart. B'chol levavcha uv'chol nafshecha, with all of your heart and all of your soul. Both and. Neither, never, either or. We must also look deep into our own souls then, my love. There are many places in our tradition where we categorize our lives as us and them. As we emerge stronger and more powerful in this century than in any previous one, we must do our part to look within our community and ask the question, where does hatred lie within us? Do we shame others do we make others invisible by our own actions? And instead of being like them that say, who did this to us? Our first question should be, where did we go wrong? I believe the answer to these questions are found in the forging of relationships with people who do not look like us and do not think like us. I've been out of the house lately. I hope you can forgive me for that. I think it's important to tell you what I've been doing. I spend the time in churches and mosques in part of the city that you would never recognize. I'm meeting with pastors and imams on a regular basis, and we're working to end the crisis of homelessness in the city. But after Charlottesville, we added to our workload. You see, there was supposed to be another march here in Los Angeles, in Venice Beach, by the same people who chanted those terrible things in Virginia. They were supposed to come. They were supposed to come with sticks and with shields, with guns and with flags. It took us all by surprise. So we went to work, leveraging our existing relationships. Those who worked on homelessness together with me, black, white, Latino, Valley, City, Jew, and Gentile, we worked together and we got their permit revoked. We got that march canceled. There will be no hate in this city because solidarity and not silence is the only anvil upon which the bell of freedom can be forged. We have overcome the either-or in order to embrace the both-and. When I was a child, the word Jewish was said with a whisper. Every time we would go out and start speaking about Jewish things, we always did so in an undertone. In our day, the response to anti-Semitism cannot be whispered. The fateful night when the Nazis bombed our house changed our lives. We wanted not to go to school the next day because, well, if there was ever an excuse not to go to high school, I thought being a victim of a hate crime was it. But my father said we had to go. If for no other reason, to show that anti-Semites among us, they could not cow us into submission and force us to leave. My father, your Zeta, was right. We must be more public about our Judaism and not less. We must not be afraid to broadcast that we are Jewish. We must be more ready to gather as Jews and not less. More willing to try out doing Jewish things and not less. Those Nazis tried to define us by telling jokes about us. Well, do you know who you really are? Have you tried putting on a kippah? Have you tried wearing a talit? Have you tried eating kosher for a while? Have you learned Torah this year? Have you learned Talmud this year? Do not let the anti-Semites define you. Do the work to define yourself. And remember, most of all, never apologize for loving your people as you love all peoples. Never apologize for pursuing justice. Never apologize for loving Israel. And never, ever, ever apologize for being a Jew. I love you more than you will ever know. Shana tova umetuka. May it be your sweetness of pride and goodness for all of you. Love.